Hi everybody, my name's Hunter. I'm the owner of Elk Horn Painting, and we're at one of our clients' house here in Parker, Colorado here today. And I'm gonna walk you through the process for painting a home. Prep work is the most important part of the job. A good prep job is absolutely critical to the longevity of your painting project. You could use the best paint in the world, but if you don't prep the house properly, you're gonna have peeling, you're gonna have flaking, and you're just gonna have problems on your paint job. So the very first step with a prep job is to pressure wash the home, which we did yesterday. So this home has been fully pressure washed and cleaned. Once the home's been cleaned, then we wanna start with the prep process with caulking and priming. Let's go to the house and I'll show you what we're doing here. All right. So one critical aspect of the prep process is to scrape any loose paint off the house and then prime any bare wood on the house. And so we did that here. There was loose flaking paint right here. And so we came through and we scraped it off to make sure that we have a smooth surface. Once we did that, we come through with a high-end primer and we put primer on the board before we paint it. The reason we do that is because primer acts as a bonding agent with paint, and so the paint will bond extremely well when you have primer on the house, whereas it doesn't bond as well to bare wood. Now that step is not necessary with boards like this because the paint is adhered good, it's just fading. And so with this, we'll just paint right over the top of this, but like I said, anywhere where there's actually bare wood, we want to prime it as to seal up the board, and then it gives the paint a strong surface to bond to. The next part of the prep process is to caulk anywhere where there's cracks on the home. So the reason it's critical to do that is we don't want water when it rains and when it snows, we don't want moisture getting inside those cracks and warping the board from the inside out. Because if that happens, your boards are gonna start to warp and you're gonna have to replace them, and your paint job can become a lot more expensive once you get into having to replace a lot of boards. And so this is a good example of what a good caulk job looks like. So where siding meets siding here. We had some cracks in here, and you can see we've come through and we've caulked those cracks before we've painted this side of the house. Okay, the next part we also caulk is anywhere where there's nail holes that are sunken in. So we had a lot of nail holes sunken in on this side of the house, and when nail holes are sunken into the house, that creates an edge or a ledge where water and moisture can sit and warp the board or swell the board around the nail hole. So it's absolutely critical to caulk those nail holes to eliminate that ledge. So when it rains, moisture just runs off the board rather than sits in these little cracks of your wood. Okay, so you can see we've caulked most of the nail holes, if not all of the nail holes on this side of the house, because we had a lot of sunken nail holes. So we're caulking any sunken nail holes, we're caulking any cracks where siding meets siding, also where siding meets trim, as we can see right here. And then even where trim meets trim. So right here, you can see there was also some cracking. So it's absolutely critical to get these things sealed up with a high-end flexible caulking. You don't want to use a cheap caulking on this because high-end caulkings are really, really flexible and they stretch with your house as your house expands and contracts over time. And so this is an absolutely critical aspect to the prep process. Prep process that we've noticed oftentimes gets missed is making sure the bottoms of the boards are scraped and primed wherever they're peeling or wherever they have insufficient coverage. And so this is most common, we find, on the bottom 3 boards of the house. And the reason the bottom 3 boards often have insufficient paint coverage from the prior paint job or they're peeling is because when you're painting, when you're spraying, it's easy to get the bottoms of the boards right here because you can spray at a slight angle. To get the bottoms of the boards here with sufficient coverage, it's critical that the sprayer gets down low and sprays at a slight angle up as to make sure that we get a good coat of paint under there. And so before we paint any home, we always check the bottom few boards of the house, and anywhere that it's peeling, we'll come through and scrape off the peeling paint and then prime it like we've done here. And then when we do come through to top coat it, we make sure we get low enough here and get good sufficient coverage up under the board. And of all the boards to get sufficient coverage on, you want to make sure the bottoms of the bottom 3 boards get really good sufficient coverage. because here in Colorado, when it snows sitting up to here, and if there's not sufficient paint coverage underneath your boards, the bottoms of your boards are just getting penetrated by water, which can cause warping. The next aspect of the prep process is to make sure everything is masked off really well. So that includes decks, fences, concrete, brick, stone, windows, anything that's not supposed to get paint on it. We want to make sure that it's masked off well so that we don't get paint on it. As you can see here with the fence, we've masked this off really well. And then we've masked off 2 feet all the way along the concrete because we just got done spraying this side of the house. And as you can see, naturally paint is going to overspray onto the ground, and so we want to make sure that gets oversprayed onto our masking and not onto the actual concrete. And then you can see this window is masked off really well, and so we do this to all windows before we paint, of course, so that when we spray, the glass of the window is protected. With paper and tape, we've masked off the top foot of the stone, and we just got done spraying this, so you can see that no paint actually got on here, but if there was some overspray, it gets on our paper and not on the stone of the house. All right, so that concludes the prep process for the exterior of a painting job. To recap, we pressure wash the entire home. We scrape and prime any peeling paint or any bare wood, including the bottom 3 boards of the siding. We caulk any cracks as well as any sunken nail holes. And then we mask off wherever paint should not get, including windows, brick, decks, concrete, anything like that. And once that's done, the fun part starts. Let's go check out the painting.